Hi everybody, this is Angel Arts and welcome to a very, very special episode of Dragon Age Resurgence. This is the crossover session, which has become a tradition throughout my campaigns. So one thing I'm going to reiterate right now is if you have never played Mass Effect at all or never saw the last campaign, we're going to try to be very gentle with you and try to explain whatever is necessary for you to be not completely lost. Um, and we'll try to make this as painless as possible. If crossover sessions just like this is not your thing, if Mass Effect is not your thing, just be aware that I don't anticipate that you would miss that much if you decided to skip this session and moved on to the next session. Anything that has to do, I don't think there's going to be any major main plot developments that will occur during the session. You may miss some character development, but it would probably be mostly character development based on how the Resurgence players, uh, I guess, start interacting with the Collision players. So, so that may happen. The other thing to warn you guys too is if you are in the middle of watching the Mass Effect campaign or are interested in eventually watching the Mass Effect campaign, this session will probably have major spoilers. So again, if you would like to avoid those spoilers, it is your choice. It is completely your choice on whether or not you can skip this episode for now. But anyway, I would like to start with the warm-up question. So the first, I'm going to have a warm-up question for the Resurgence characters. And that is, which of the... Well, you know what? Let me do this in reverse. Let's start with the Collision players first, because my question for the Collision characters are going to uh, kind of set up my question for the Dragon Age characters. Each of the Mass Effect Collision characters that are here today will introduce themselves. They'll give their character's name. They will tell us what race they are. And for those of you who don't play Mass Effect, they'll explain the idea behind the races. Sync probably needs to explain himself a little bit, even though he is human, technically. So just be aware. So I think everybody will need to give some sort of explanation. And then just a basic rundown of uh, what their character is like and maybe some background information.
And Sync has 4 more people to flirt with this session.
Yes, Sync has 4 more people to accidentally flirt with. now that he's a married man again.
I need to go tell you something in private. Please, can you come this way?
Yeah. For the
Nothing's written in stone.
For the
Really? I thought that was the entirety of your religion.
Not yet. For the Resurgent players, your warm-up question will be which of the Mass Effect characters that are here today are you most excited to interact with your character, and why are you excited for your character to interact with that character?
My character is Sepia Altis. She is a Turian. I guess the race is... They're described as very kind of avian looking. Like they have a very kind of like the features, their body-wise, they're very kind of bird-shaped. My character is a biotic, meaning like she's able to kind of like control the gravity, much like the dwarves, the magical dwarves in the Resurgence.
Beautiful.
I know. No shame. And then I guess she's a pretty lawful person, but she's also been pretty flexible with having to deal with things. She's also pretty like blunt with like telling people, it's like, hey, you should here's something that you should have, or just kind of like will probably be the one more likely to just blurt out. It's like whatever it needs to be done, it has to be done type mentality. She's also has a little kid that she's also kind of like a very motherly figure too. during like the whole thing, she was also a C-sect officer. That connects with her very kind of more lawful connection.
Just to reiterate with what Eric was saying, he mentioned biotics, which is essentially magic in Mass Effect sense. So think of its effects to be very similar to telekinesis in many ways. But so Sesepia is trained in biotics / Mass Effect magic.
Hi, my name's Matt. I play Elias Sola Vas Alarai now. So if anyone has watched Mass Effect, you will note the change of name. And I'm assuming we're going to cover that in the actual session, so I won't go into too much detail other than Quarians have a given name and a ship name, and they have a tradition where they leave the ship of birth and they return to a different ship, and that changes their name. So Quarians are visually, I believe they were intended when they were designed to be like the pen pal that you really liked, but you never knew what they looked like. So Quarians wear a full body envirosuit, which does cover all of their facial features, and they have glowing eyes, which generally means that most people don't know what they look like. They're apparently very attractive, with vestigial ears, otherwise they look very human, with cybernetic implants and stuff. They have 3 fingers and a thumb on each hand, and their legs bow backwards much the way that Turians do. I believe the one derogatory phrase for either Turians or Quarians in the Mass Effect universe was dog-legged. That's what humans would interpret their feet structure to look like. Male Quarians tend to have 2 toes on their feet. Females have 3. Don't know why. Man flaw. Anyway, that's the alien race. They're also one of the 2 dextro protein species. So in organic chemistry, you can have compounds which are either certain organic compounds can actually form in 2 different forms. And on Earth with humans, we are made of levoprotein, which is, I think it's left-leaning or something. Anyway, it's protein chirality, you can look it up. So the upshot of the way it's been interpreted in the Mass Effect universe is that dextroprotein species and levoprotein species cannot eat the same food, which does make things interesting. Is a lounge singer. Because I'm all about that bass, about the bass, no travel. All about the bass, about the bass, no travel. He has a thing. His thing is classic Earth music reinterpreted into various to make up an entirely new genre of music for aliens. And he is probably best known from the Mass Effect campaign as being the technological pack rat. As in, if he sees something useful, he would take it and exploit it, which was quite interesting. And he's also known as, can he hack it? Yes, he can. So that's pretty much Elias's deal. He is a celebrity in his universe, and he's sort of leveraged that into a business empire. He also, which may provide an in for people, he was also in possession of a lot of the pharmacologica of Theta. So he's got elf root. I think he's pretty much every herb you've got every herb you have in Mass Effect in Dragon Age Inquisition. Elias is growing somewhere in a giant geostic biodome. And he also managed to get a shipment of Rollirium. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that.
We'll get to that.
I think that more or less tells you everything you need to know.
Thank you, Matt.
My name is Jessica. I'm playing Faith Takara. She's an Asari. And Asari are, I guess, about as tall as humans. They have normally either blue skin or up to purple skin, I think. And they generally, I think, don't have eyebrows, but they have little tattoos to, like, signify them. And they instead of hair, they have, like, tentacle things growing out the back of their head. And they are generally depicted as female, even though they are they don't really have a gender, I think. Normally. Faith is naturally biotic, just like all Asari are biotic. Asari also have the ability to mate with any species, regardless of the gender. And that is because of their unique biology. Well, she will get the job done, but if it comes across if her morals are tested in that, she will go with her beliefs and what her morals are, rather than if it contradicts with what the mission is. She'll go with what she believes is right. She has a bit of her father's DNA in her, I guess you could say, because sometimes if she gets mad enough, she'll go into a bit of a rage, where she'll go and destroy everything she can find that she perceives as her enemy anyway. And as for the campaign, she was trapped in the vault with the rest of the companions in her group. They left, and through all sorts of screwy situations, ended up running into the other groups. In the end, she decided to stick around Thetis for her own reasons. And that's about all you need to know for this point.
All right. Thank you very much, Faith. Last but not least, let's go with Dylan.
All right, so my name is Dylan, and I'm playing as Sync, which is spelled S-Y-N-C. I can't bring the border up. So he's probably one of the most complicated races ever, human.
Mostly.
But I
He
think
is
in, like,
complicated.
Mass Effect lore, like, humans are like the most proliferative race. But while he is human, he's also cyborg. I would say he's probably 70% cyborg, and the rest, was that 40% human? 30%, sorry.
Dylan's a doctor, by the way.
Yeah.
Dylan's a doctor. Who needs numbers when you're a doctor? Who needs numbers?
My character
So about
is,
your medication doses.
he is somewhat of a doctor, and he lost his wife, and he spent a lot of his time trying to bring her back, I guess, from the dead.
Yes.
Yes. And
he tried to resurrect her. Go ahead, keep going.
yeah, and I feel like Sync, he's through the campaign, he went through a lot of emotions, and he got a lot of feels as things happened. And I think now he's a pretty happy, stable person.
Matt, like your outfit is sort of giving me a Han Solo vibe right now.
Well, this is actually a shirt I picked up in Japan. It's an old linen shirt that's kind of piratey, piratey / Victorian era. So I really like it, and I'm just like, I will wear it more often. Thank you.
Well, you're playing Elias, so you need to be fashionable. So,
Of course.
Darling, it's red. Can you tell?
It's not burgundy though. Oh wait, burgundy. There's that color
Darling,
again.
no. Please do not talk to me about burgundy. In joke, sorry.
Reference.
So back to speaking of burgundy, let's go to the resurgent characters. Who would like to go first as to which of these Mass Effect characters are you excited for your character to interact with? It looks like Rachel was about to jump out of her seat.
No, I'm just really amused. Understanding, of course, that I don't know the first thing about Mass Effect. I'm like, oh, is this how this? Okay. So, biotics. You've got lyrium. Okay. Let's go. I hate to take the cheap answer, but because I know nothing about it, I'm kind of excited to see what happens with all of them. And, it sounds like none of the people with whom our group's going to interact would be easily considered, the base human race that you would encounter on Thetis.
Mhm.
And I am so excited to see where that goes.
Yes. I will allow Rachel to give that cheat answer, considering
I get a pass because I'm a newbie.
you're a pass because you have a newbie. I don't think anybody else gets that pass though.
Thank you kindly.
All right.
I win.
Who would like to go?
Dips.
Who would like to go next?
I definitely think Sync for Cedric. He is definitely having an internal crisis with himself. Like, am I human still? Am I like what am I? And I feel like Sync would just be like a good compliment to that, because he's more than half cyborg, but he still has human qualities. So like it'd be interesting to see them talk and like see how he views himself versus how Cedric views himself.
That can be dangerous because there's a lot of Hudrick fans, and if you put Cedric and Sync together, I'm scared what'll happen.
Sync trick. It's a sync trick.
Sync trick.
I don't know. Are we still going for Sepia? Sync Sepia?
That also could be Sync Sepia.
I think that ship's at the bottom of the ocean now.
I guess we should mention that I had whenever we did Mass Effect, I didn't. It wasn't intentional, but it sounded like I was trying to flirt with every single character.
And I completely haven't played that up in the novelization.
I don't know. Yeah, Dylan, I don't understand how you can say accidentally when your actual lines are things like, yeah, Elias, like, if you need to remove your clothes in here, feel free to do it anytime.
And now I know precisely who I'll be the most comfortable with.
Or there was the other one. The other one was can I see you in private? Your room.
That's funny. I say that to all my friends.
And he would say it. It's adorable.
He would just say that in the middle of the mess hall, just come right out and say it.
And it's great. And it's adorable because genuinely Dylan doesn't think much of it, but he has such a straight face when he says these things. And when they come out, we're like, what did Dylan just say?
Hello, Sync.
Okay. All right. Let's bring it back. Who would like to go next?
I would probably say Sepia, because she's like a space mage who's super lawful, and I think that's super cool, and I think Andrea would get along with her really well. I do. I think she'd probably get along with a lot of these people when she gets past the fact that they're not demons, but please don't let me blow up a ship. But other than that, I'm really
yeah.
Other than that, I'm really excited.
How about Sam?
Well, you hinted at it earlier, but if the topic comes up, I'm really excited to interact with Dylan's character Sync because of the whole resurrection stuff. That's kind of like a big topic right now.
But it was really interesting to be reminded of Sync's history because I've been thinking about the warm-up question from last session, which was, if anybody had died, who would you bring back to life? And I think, to no surprise, Theo would bring back his wife. So that clicked with me when Sync was talking about that, because I think Theoben would be in the exact same mindset. So that was really interesting. I know that there's been whispers about playdates between Rosie and Sepia's daughter. So that's something that's kind of exciting. And Elias is just a darling.
Not a darling,
I love...
a darling.
A darling.
At least as far as we know.
Exterminate.
You're reminding me now of the Christmas card that Hawk's getting from me this year. And Faith, I like her personality. I like her passion. I feel like Theoben would relate very much to that because Theo is a very passionate person when it comes to things that he believes in. So it's difficult for me because there is so much about all of the characters, but I'm not allowed to do a cop-out answer, so this isn't fair. I'm gonna go with because I felt like when her personality was being described, she felt like the perfect fit to Theoben.
Did you just say Sepia?
So that's wrong. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I heard it correctly. Collision characters. Origin stories. Roll for initiative, please. Let's
Okay.
see your
How do we-
origin
how do we-
stories. So, let's start with Sync. Sync, you currently are, I believe when we last talked, you still have the endurance in your possession, is that correct?
Yes.
However, normally you guys are living in a actual home, apartment. Like what do you say? Is it a home or is it
Probably a
apartment?
nice house. Whatever Elias could get me that was pretty extravagant.
What did
That'd
you
probably be
want?
Let's go with like a penthouse somewhere.
A penthouse. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know? Is this on Earth? Is this? And if on Earth, where would it be?
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Dylan, you're home.
Yeah,
That's where the
Louisiana.
work is.
New Orleans? Do you want to be in New Orleans?
Yes.
By this point in the future, in the distant future, most of New Orleans has been submerged underwater, and they have made a brand new city that is floating above the water level. It's actually a very beautiful city, and apparently Sink is living in some sort of apartment, penthouse, on this within this particular compound. Sink, it is in the middle of the night. You are in bed with your wife Beatrice next to you. She's sound asleep, and you are awakened by the tap on the door.
Okay. I'll get up, put some clothes, put pajamas on, and then go see
Okay.
who's at the.
You go
You were
over.
wearing pajamas before?
I'm sorry. What did you say?
Yes.
Sink sleeps in the nude. We found that out.
Okay. Yeah, we just found that out.
Oh.
Sink,
Confirmed.
you get, yes, I'm sure all of the fans will start drawing right now. Cedric has some competition. Sink, you go to the door of your bedroom, you open it, and there is a little boy there.
Aw.
He is dressed in his pajamas, and the pajamas sort of has little starships all over it.
Okay.
Pity.
And you can see that his eyes are a little red, and it looks like he's been he's sweating, he's perspiring. This has not been the first time this has happened with Lucas, because lately the nightmares have been coming back again, and a lot of these nightmares are due to the things that he experienced during season 1, if that makes sense.
Okay. As soon as I notice this, I'll like get on one knee, eye level with Lucas, and say, "More nightmares, huh?"
He doesn't say anything, but he nods.
Here, let's go get you some water real quick, and I'll kind of lead him towards the kitchen and chair and get him a ice water. Do you want to talk about it?
It was really real this time.
Well, regardless of how real it ever was, you know you're never going back there, right?
He nods. I know. He takes the water carefully, and then he takes a sip. Can I sleep with you and Mommy tonight?
Yes, of course. Mom would love that.
He takes a sip, and then he doesn't really say anything else. He keeps. Luke is a pretty quiet kid. So I don't know if you're going to continue talking to him or not. It's up to you.
I'll pat him on the head, and while he's kind of calming down, drinking the water, I'll look at him and say, "How about tomorrow we forget about school and you come with me over to the lab? Maybe say hey to Elias."
At that, his eyes kind of light up a bit, and he says, "Really, Daddy?"
Yeah, you can go in the endurance even if you want to. I know you want to really be a captain or a pilot one day, so.
Can I? She said, "Can I help you? Can I help you drive it again?"
Yeah, maybe if we have time in the day, maybe we can take a little ride around what's left in Wallace, and maybe even let you fly around for a little bit.
He nods a bit. Lucas actually has ridden in the cockpit with you on the Endurance, and he's actually really good at monitoring the systems. When it's red, that's bad. When it's green, it's good. So if it's yellow, then something's about to be bad. So he's really good about going, Daddy, this just turned yellow.
Okay.
Daddy, it's red now.
Daddy, we're about to crash into the ocean. That's bad, right?
Yeah. What's that? Sloth Destruct?
Lucas asks...
Please disengage all those systems.
Lucas blinks a little bit, and then with excited eyes, he asks, "Is Uncle Darren gonna come with us too?"
We can ask him. I know he's been busy lately, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind. We'll have to give him a call tomorrow morning. It's kind of late now.
Okay. He finishes up his glass, and you escort the child into your room, and it takes a little bit of time for him to fall asleep. You can feel him shaking just a little bit, but eventually you start hearing him having a very sweet whistling. He kind of whistles a little bit when he snores, slightly, softly.
Well, once I check that he's sound asleep and he's okay, I'll doze off as well.
Okay. The next morning rolls around. Would you say that you wake up before Beatrice? Beatrice wakes up before you? Wake up at the same
being
time?
that he woke up in the middle of the night, he probably would wake up later, just given the circumstance.
You'll wake up a little bit later to the smell of sausage cooking in the kitchen. If you look, both your wife and Lucas are no longer in bed with you. You slept in just a little bit. The TV is running. I think Lucas is watching some cartoons right now while he's eating his breakfast. It is Blasto. Yeah, it is Blasto.
Oh God.
and then Trissy right now, she actually is finishing up in the kitchen. She seems to be in a bit of a not rushing too much, but she seems to be in a little bit of a hurry. She's already fully dressed. This is actually I guess an off day for the kids. It's Friday, but it is I guess in-service day or working day for the teachers.
Okay.
So she's dressed in what she normally is wearing before she goes to work to teach at the school where she currently is teaching. And she's just putting a bit of the sausage and some eggs onto a plate for herself. And when she sees you, she gives you a smile and gives you a peck on the cheek. Morning, sweetheart.
Good morning, Tracy.
I see we have
You ready for work?
Yes, she says, there's a lot of things that we need to get over with right now. I have some meetings with some parents. It's Matthias again. He's acting up.
Of course. I don't know if you noticed or not, but last night Lucas had another dream again.
She looks over at him again, and he's again still silently watching the TV. I hope that the therapy sessions that we've been trying to put him through has been helping.
I think they're making progress. Normally this kind of stuff takes a lot of time, but don't worry about getting a sitter. I'm going to take him over to work with me today.
Oh, she said, all right. Are you going back to the lab then?
Yeah, I'll wait for you to leave, and I'll get Lucas and get him together and head down that way.
She says, all right, well, tell Elias that I said hi, and make sure Lucas doesn't touch any of his things, because...
I'll be sure to make sure he doesn't.
And more importantly, tell Elias not to let Lucas touch any of his things,
Yeah. You got it. You got it.
All right, she says. She goes over to Lucas, and she sort of rubs the top of his head on his hair, gives him a cheek, and she says, "Now you be a good boy today, Lucas. I heard Daddy's going to be taking you to work. He is. He's going to help me fly the Endurance today." And she smiles when she says that. Maybe you can show him a thing or two of what your Uncle Darren has been teaching you. And Lucas sort of nods very happily. And then she says, "All right." She sort of lifts him up a bit and then gives him a hug. Be good. Make sure Elias is good. And she will make her way out the door.
Real quick, as she's leaving, I'll kind of grab her hand real quick as she's walking in the threshold of the door.
Okay.
And I'll kind of whisper under, kind of where out of Lucas's earshot, "Given it any thought yet?"
She thinks for a moment and she says, I think now would be a good time. We're both working. I'm getting back into the swing of things. And I think it's about time that I think Lucas would appreciate it right now. He would. I think this is a good time.
Okay. Me too.
Okay. Love you.
Love you.
And she goes out the door. Next, I think Faith is the next person, correct?
Yeah.
Faith, let's go back in time just a little bit. So this is taking place a few weeks prior to the events of Dragon Age Resurgence Session 14. We'll say that this happens a few days after they leave the Silverite mines. Now, Faith, life on Thedas for you has been very challenging, to say the least.
Yeah.
Because you are this foreign creature in this foreign land, and the unfortunate thing is the people of Thedas are not known to be very tolerant of diversity historically.
Yeah.
And anytime that you, for the most part in the beginning, you've tried to stay hidden, you've tried to keep to yourself as much as possible, because if you draw attention to yourself,
that'll draw attention to the authorities, and that would not be good.
Yes, that has proven to be difficult. You have been attacked outright a few times, people calling you a demon. You have managed to defend yourself / get away just in time before things get super ugly. And to make matters worse, a couple months into living in Thedas with the last year, your translator breaks down. So not only do you look bizarre, but you also cannot speak the language anymore. You have probably seen the Tempest Dream flying overhead, and I know that again you probably desperately are trying to make contact with the Tempest Dream, but again that is a double-edged sword, because in doing so you draw attention to yourself, not just the flying ship. So unfortunately the last year has been very difficult. You've been fending for yourself.
I've actually been thinking about that, and I think I had an idea of where she could have been living when she was in Thedas, because I remember thinking back to the Little House on the Prairie books that I've been I had before.
Okay.
And one of the places that they ended up living is like in a little, I don't want to call it a hutch, where they've been living in a hill, like a hauled out hill. Mm-hmm. And I figured that she could have found something like that and been, keeping shelter in that, because that would not really draw attention to herself and be a good place to stay hidden.
Okay.
She drove out the giant spiders.
We'll say that that's where you hid for most of the year.
Yeah, and it could have been a little sort of home.
Yes. And then I'll say, just to keep things vague, something major happens recently that forces you to have to find another place to hide out, at least temporarily. So I'll keep that vague. So you're forced to hide out. It may or may not have been violent in nature, but you eventually make your way to this cavern. an abandoned mine. And we'll say that you try to set up yourself up there as comfortably as you can, living in these mines. At some point, you probably have been in these mines for a couple days, when you start hearing voices. And when you investigate the voices, you see a small group of short dwarven children surrounding a woman, an older woman, who seems to be addressing them in some form. Now, the problem is it's hard for you to understand what they're saying because they're speaking in a completely different language.
Yeah.
So, but you're probably smart enough to realize that the woman is probably some sort of maybe camp counselor, teacher,
Something like that.
something along those lines. And then you notice, to your surprise, that they start casting biotics.
A strange form of biotics.
A strange form of biotics, yes.
Since I think you said that the glow is orange.
The glow is orange, not what it normally is, how you're used to. And you actually have noticed that whenever you yourself use biotics in this world, there is an orangish tint to it. It's not exactly the same, and it doesn't behave exactly the same as it does. The rules in Thetis are a little different than the rules.
And it's probably because she's not around any form of Ezo at all, since that place doesn't have Ezo. So that probably is why.
That's probably part of it too. Anyway, you probably watch these children curiously, and maybe you don't interfere because A, not only because you don't want to be found, but B, maybe you don't want to frighten these children.
And make them attack you.
Correct. And when they're done having their, whatever it is they're doing, lesson or what have you, the children start to go off, and one of them stays behind because she turns around. Let's say that maybe you moved around a little bit, you shifted, and then a rock or something fell and it made a noise, which nobody else heard except for this girl. So the curious little dwarf turns around. She looks back at the group that's leaving, then she looks back at the noise, then she looks back at the group that's leaving. You can kind of see that she's processing something, and then she starts to walk towards your direction with a very curious and not frightened look on her face. What do you do, Faith?
I think she'll realize she's probably been found out. She's probably gonna try moving back a bit because she doesn't want to, jump out and make her think that she's gonna attack her.
Okay.
Considering how she looks.
Right.
I think she'll kind of try to smile and awkwardly wave at her since she's still kind of trying to pick up the language.
The girl walks towards your direction, and let's say that you're in the shadows a little bit, so she can't see you completely because you've backed up a bit in the cavern. And the girl kind of looks at you. She tilts her head a little bit, and again, she doesn't look afraid, but more curious than anything else. And she says, "Who are you?" And you probably can kind of understand that she's asking who you are, or what are you doing, or anything about any of the above.
She's not sure what to say since she can't really speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she'd know any gestures to be able to say what her name is.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll probably try and make some gestures to show her that she doesn't know what to say.
The girl then points to herself and says, "Rosie. Rosie."
I guess she'll try and point to herself and try to say Faith, but I don't know how well that Rosie's going to be able to understand.
I think, yeah. She'll repeat whatever you say. She will repeat whatever you say. She kind of mispronounces it a bit, but it's close. And and then she gives you a bit of a smile, and then she sort of walks up towards you again, and like holds out her hand towards you.
She'll be a bit hesitant because she's not sure how the little girl's gonna react if she actually sees what she looks like, since she's hiding in the shadows currently.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll hesitantly at least take her hand.
Okay. You clutch her hand. It's very tiny under your fingers. But again, she doesn't pull back. She doesn't react in a way that she doesn't flinch. She just, again, is continually staring
I
at
was
you.
gonna say, can she see that her hand color is blue?
Yeah, she can. And she's looking, she notices that, and she looks surprised, but not in a, oh my god kind of way. It's more of like a, oh cool, that's interesting kind of way. And she again looks at you, and she says, in the words that you pick up is blue. That's the only word that you can pick up from what she says.
She'll kind of tilt her head and kind of nod, and then show up her hand again. Yeah.
She sits down next to you, and she actually has a backpack, a small backpack with her, and she opens it up, and she pulls out what looks like a sandwich. We'll say it's like a whatever the dwarven version of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich would be. I don't know what that would be for a dwarven child. But
I have no idea. I'm guessing
mushroom related.
berries.
Probably something mushroom related. Yeah, deep mushroom related.
Ugh.
And
I love bananas. No, just
no bananas.
Mushroom and bananas.
No,
Oh,
no
God.
bananas, no nuts, no bananas and no nuts. So she sort of like, the sandwich was cut in half for her, and so she takes one half and then she offers the other half to you.
I think she'll take the half and she'll break it into another half and give her the other half back because that's her lunch. She didn't want to take it away from her.
She takes it back, and then she looks at you again, and she holds it out to you again, and then she says something, but you don't know what she's saying, but it sounds thoughtful, whatever she's saying. What she's holding out the other half of the sandwich that you gave back to her.
She'll look at her for a moment and then I guess shrug and take the other half back that she gave her.
Okay. You bite into the sandwich. How well does Faith like mushrooms? Well, does she like mushrooms?
Me personally, I can't stand them, but
Okay, but Faith?
She probably would be able to, probably would like mushrooms a bit. I think the only thing she probably doesn't like is shellfish.
Okay. It's a little sweet. It's interesting because it's mushrooms, but it's mixed with something that's sweet. And it actually makes it a lot more tasty than how you normally have had mushrooms here in Thetis prepared. And she sort of just munches it. And Rosie, starts saying more things to you. You're trying to pick up some of the things she's saying, and, you might pick out words like kids and fun and learn and then other words like pretty and interesting when she's looking at you directly. Pretty and interesting.
I think she'll be a bit surprised and smile and reach over and pat her head gently.
She giggles a little bit, and when you make more physical contact with her, you can sense, especially when you pat her head, you can sense something you can sense some sort of biotic-like energy from within this girl, and it's very powerful, like Asari level powerful, whatever it is, which is odd because you don't think that, well, before today, you didn't think any creature on Thetis
there would be
can
any
catch
biotics.
biotics.
Like biotics in there, yeah.
And you were impressed by the things that the children were doing, but this girl, there's something about this girl, man. What do you do?
I think Faith will finish her food and look at the girl for a moment. and I think she'll just point at a little rock on the floor, and then she'll show off her own, biotics by picking it up.
She gasps at that, and then she points and says something along the lines of "You too."
She'll nod.
She puts her sandwich down. It only has a few bites left, but she watches the rock again as if she's waiting for something else to happen.
I think she'll just toss it in the air with her biotics a few times.
She giggles. She claps. She starts clapping and says, "Very good, very good." She then looks towards your direction, and she looks at you with very innocent-looking eyes, and she points at herself, and she says something along the lines of "me," in a question, in the form of a question. Do you say yes, or do you nod, or do you shake your head?
I guess she'll nod, because she's not sure what she's asking.
She the girl stands up and she goes over to where the rock was, the one that you just moved. She takes a deep breath, and then she starts to, focus a little bit, and then this orange energy starts to emanate from her towards the rock. The rock also starts to levitate, and then she too flings it in one direction, and just before it hits the wall, it does a 180 curve up and around, and then starts doing loop-de-loop circles.
They will be quite impressed by that, and she'll kind of clap, showing that she's impressed.
And then she starts to get a little tired, so she stops, and then the rock falls back onto the ground. But she looks back at you with a big grin on her face, as if she just, learned how to use the potty. What do you do, Faith?
She'll see that she's tired, and she'll motion for her to sit down, because she doesn't want to have her overexert herself.
At that point, you start hearing the woman's voice calling out Rosie's name, and then Rosie starts to pack up her things very quickly, and then she looks at you and she says something that sounds like day or next. Do you say anything or try to
I think she'll try to gesture that she might come by and watch again the next day or something.
Okay. She will smile at you, and then she will scamper off towards the direction of the voice. Next, who's after Faith?
Sesepia.
Sesepia.
Oh, goody.
So, Sesepia, you've been really busy. So, you used to be a CSEC officer. For those of you who don't know what CSEC is, that's basically the police force that is on one of the main...
Citadel.
Yeah, the Citadel, which is one of the main...
It stands for Citadel Security.
Yes. Citadel being one of the main grand cities of Mass Effect.
It's the capital of the universe, I suppose you could call it that.
But then, by the end of the last season, Sesepia quit her job. She quit her job from the Force, and she decided that what she really wants to do is start pursuing a career in politics. So,
yeah, she learned that she does better at talking than at shooting.
Yes. So within the first year, Eric, could you describe to us viewers what are some of the things that Sesepia has actively been doing to prepare herself for office?
She has been kind of going out trying to kind of speak to the masses, kind of getting sort of a following to kind of get people behind her for one of the spots that she'll be trying to run for, as kind of, and I guess I would imagine as the police officer because I guess she was known for talking down the gunman during the origin. I think there was like people that do recognize her, remember her from that. And she also asked for the support of her higher up. Forgot his name. But her chief to kind of as a kind of support. Damien, that's right.
Damien, yes.
It's been like a lot of preparation, like getting her ready to kind of run for a position on the Citadel.
Okay. So remind me again what position you're running for at the moment. I remember off the top of my head.
It was like an intendant of like
an intendant.
One of the
Yes.
boards. Yeah, intendant of one of the boards.
Yes, okay. So you're running for the position of intendant, and this is a pretty big deal for you because you've been doing a lot of campaigning. Campaigning has started, and you just finished having a very important meeting with your campaign manager on what the next strategy is. They just started to, start putting out ads on the feeds, and you basically were approving these ads. So, my name is Giuseppe Altus and I approve of this message and all that good stuff. This is my favorite store in the Citadel, blah, 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 blah. and then, so you're dressed in a Giuseppe looks pretty darn good. She's like business power suit woman right now.
And then she would also have like her officer medals like that.
Yes. So she's in her business suit, and you're actually coming back home from a very long day. And when you arrive home, Talia, who is your daughter, she is actually also watching TV. She's watching a rerun of the exact same Blasto episode that Lucas was watching just a moment ago. Great minds think alike, of course. And the two babysitters, Will and Wei, Fate's sisters, who you have become you've become friends with Will and William and Waynona, and they agreed, even though that they are very busy with all of the things that they're doing as scientists, they have been very great babysitters for Talia when you needed to run out and do something for your job. So Will and Wei, they're sort of, one of Will's right now in the kitchen and Wei's sort of sitting on the couch with Talia, watching TV with her. And as soon as you come into the room, Talia looks up and says, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, you're back."
Talia!
Are you on TV
She kind of
yet?
kneels down like arms.
She gives
We're getting there.
She gives you a hug.
We're getting there.
She says, "You're famous. All the kids have been talking about you, and I told her that they need to vote, but they said they're not. But they said that they're not old enough yet.
And maybe in the future they'll be able to, but yeah, a little young right now. But yes." And she kind of like stands up and like in this like seeing if was Will and what the sister's name?
Will is the one in the kitchen. Wei is the one on the couch.
Will and Wei. Kind of like look in the direction, kind of like I'll pick Talia up and like kind of make my way into the kitchen. Hey, I hope it wasn't too much trouble. Thank you again for looking after Talia.
And Will says, after you say that, she says, "Oh, there's our future intendant Altus." No, not at all. Talia is such a dear. She makes this whole babysitting thing super easy. We were just having a really nice, we had a really nice dinner. I left you some on the table over there.
Thank you.
And then she then turns towards the living room where Wei is, and says, "Wei, could you help me over here in the kitchen cleaning up a little bit?" "Sure, sis," Wei says, and she comes in. When Wei enters in, and when Wei enters to the kitchen, she says, "Giuseppe, looking good. I love that outfit on you."
I guess it's supposed to kind of like help, make my connection to the public. Honestly, it's so. I don't know. I thought I'd be prepared, but I still get a little bit nervous having to speak with a group of people. I always feel like I do better with like it's just that one-on-one, but when I get in that, when I like think of that, seeing that crowd.
Oh, come on, you totally got this, she says. She says, I mean, I admit I don't know very much about the competition, but you seem to be, you seem to be smart, and I think that you have a very good chance of winning this thing. She will win this thing, Will says.
I'm told it's a Hanner that's winning. I'm hoping that maybe he'll kind of like everyone will get like tired listening to him. Just like they'll be like this one. But I don't know.
Wei says, well, but let's talk about something that has nothing to do with politics. How was your date last night? And Will says, I don't know if that was necessarily a date. And Wei says, well, first steps, it was coffee with that, who was it? That person, Rexar, I think? You said you met him on an elevator or something a few months back, and you guys decided to have a cup of coffee the other day? How was that? She's asking Sesepia. If you remember from the epilogue, there was this, was it another Turian?
Yeah.
I think there's another Turian, Rexar, who you met in the elevator when you guys were trying to break into... It was the heist.
The heist trying to get Diana.
Yes.
He was a gamer.
He was a gamer. Yes. And you've seen each other in the elevator a few times, and he convinced you at least once to just go out for coffee. Just an innocent out for coffee. And so right now she's asking how it went, if it's like a meh, it's a one-time thing.
I don't know. I mean, he definitely seems like a very nice guy. It's just talks, getting to know each other, nothing too serious. Very pleasant, very nice young man. Definitely talks about a lot of the stuff that he's into.
Yeah, he talks. Yeah, you said he likes this thing called tabletop gaming, or something along those lines. I think I've heard. I think my cousin played that a few times. They spend like hours and hours upon hours in the basement. It's a little weird.
Hey, I mean, from what I hear, it does a great job of like come up with different solutions to different problems. Being able to come up with stuff quick on the fly, being able to adapt. So it's actually pretty interesting.
Sounds like he should run for office then.
I don't know. I don't know if he quite get that with. I mean, I think he's happy as with where he is at right now with him, which that's good for him.
Well, that's good. Suddenly, the TV has a news bulletin. This just in, and you see a man in a orange pinstripe suit, and he's reporting. It says, "Good evening, everyone. I am Liam Nathaniel Unuzi, and I am right outside the." He says, "I am right outside the." I forgot what the name of the sushi restaurant is at the Citadel.
You say sushi, I think.
Oh, right, you say yes.
Yes. He tells you he's right outside of the sushi restaurant, where a Drell female assaulted a woman at the restaurant by randomly stabbing her, and you see that the CSEC officers are dragging this Drell woman, and out of all of a sudden, Sesepia, you see a Drell woman who looks like...
is she?
Yeah.
Who looks like this. And then she's screaming. They shift to a camera of a bunch of CSEC officers dragging this woman away, and she's spouting a whole lot of nonsense. Like, she says, "They're all gonna pay. They're all gonna pay. I don't belong here. I don't belong here." She yells out.
She does her best to hold back the laugh.
The sisters look at you curiously as to why you're laughing at this.
Oh, it's the sushi restaurant. I swear, I don't think they can go a whole week without something happening there.
Oh.
Yeah, you know?
She says, "Well, I'm sure that's going to be one of the things you're going to do when you become an attendant, is to make sure that to prevent these lunatics from running around rampant in the Citadel like that."
I know, right? Some of the
Yep.
things that she's crying out. It's crazy.
Then Will looks at the clock and says, "Okay, Talia, I think it's time for bed." And Talia goes, "Oh," she says, "Can I just wait? Can I watch one more episode of Blasto, please?" She looks, and when she says this, she looks towards
Talia?
Giuseppe's direction.
Talia, you know the rules.
I know,
Here,
but
come on, I'll tuck you into bed.
I'm asking for an amendment. Amendment? She says, amendment? Amendment? Wait,
I'll tell you what. I'll sit with you and watch it. It could be, since I haven't gotten a chance to be with you today. I'll watch it with you. How's that sound?
Yay! Yes, yes. The next episode is supposed to be a big one. Blasto is going to be going undercover.
Is he?
Yes.
You can explain it when we get into the living room, okay?
Okay. And she excitedly takes your hand as she moves you over to the TV set. And Will is gonna, get the plate of dinner for you and bring it over to the coffee table. So,
Yes.
Yes. Elias, you are at where exactly do you live? You and Corbin live?
Elias would, well, strangely, they have an absolutely giant penthouse, which they use
Okay.
about a quarter of.
Okay.
Strangely, because that little quarter is almost a replica of the condo, which they can't live in anymore because it's just too hard to secure, unfortunately.
Okay.
Neither of them are used to a lot of space, so yeah, about a quarter of the house doesn't get used.
Okay. And I'm sorry, remind me again, which planet is this?
It would be on Earth, probably
on
still
Earth.
in New Orleans, because that's where
You're also in
the
Orleans.
research facility is.
Ah,
well, that's where the
okay.
research facility is. So,
Okay.
going to have to stick around on there, basically.
Makes sense since Sync is there too. So
Yeah.
okay. So it is Friday morning, and Corbin is already up, and he is dressed in his Alliance uniform. He is, for those of you who don't know who the Alliance is, think of the Alliance as sort of like the human, I guess, government.
Human branch of the military.
It's the human military.
Yes.
Yeah. The giant nation states still have their own government, but they all run the military through the Alliance, and that sort of is I suppose the global diplomatic arm as well. Kind of, it's weird. They've got a parliament. Did they rebuild the parliament? Because that got nuked by the Reapers.
That's a good question. I have to double check my notes. I don't know off the top of my head yet. But
there's probably one somewhere.
Yes. So he is N7, and N7 is sort of thought of as like the highest ranking
Special Ops. N7 is Special Ops.
Yes, Special Ops. He's in his N7 uniform. He is a doctor, and he's just adjusting, his uniform before he has to leave for the weekend, just the weekend. I guess when you come into the kitchen for breakfast, he says, "Good morning."
Morning. Someone's looking all official.
Yeah, well, he says, we've we've got a lot to do at the office this weekend. Gotta make sure I put my best foot forward.
Is this one classified, or am I allowed to know what you're doing?
He says, it's classified, but you're allowed to know what I'm doing. He says with a grin.
Right, which is?
He chuckles a little bit, and he says, we're investigating some of the recent activity that's going on with permanent systems. Some sort of disturbance, the usual, you know.
Terminus systems. Yeah, fair enough. Glad I didn't go out that way too often. Don't die.
Yeah, he says, I've been pretty good at doing that so far. I figure I'm doing pretty well so far, don't you think?
Well, you know, it never hurts to remind you.
I keep trying to do that with my patients as well. It actually helps me a lot when they don't die. So.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair.
By the way, he said, did you see the tabloids this morning?
Oh, which one? I've been avoiding half of them. Drimmy's been sending me lots of gleeful messages.
A couple of them have apparently said that you may or may not be have already made a giant step in your life.
Did you get your hand photographed? Seriously, you already got your hand photographed?
He said, I wasn't the one who leaked it out.
Okay, I guess we better go call Niha. What's she done this time, and how much are we getting paid for it?
Well, no, do you think, I don't know, do you think it's such a bad thing for people to talk about this? I mean...
I don't know how many stalkers we're gonna have to deal with this time. And how much hate mail are we gonna get?
You might be right.
Maybe we'd better go look at cybersecurity again. Oh well, still, worth it.
Have you thought about where we're doing it? He asks.
No. I mostly haven't. I'm still digesting and still half panicking about that. The guest list is going to be can we just do the elope thing and not have a giant thing? Because that would be kind of cool. And aren't weddings like a human thing? Because we really don't do that. Kind of. It's not really the same.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I think some of my family might appreciate at least a reception or something. Plus, didn't some of your friends say that they were offering to be your best man? Who actually is going to be your best man? Have you decided yet?
I might all sync. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Not sure.
He says you and Sync seem to be spending a lot of time late at night at that lab.
Oh, this again.
He says that with a grin.
He is still married.
He says. I know, but you know, he said. I know, but he's married to his work too, and you seem to be married with your work as well. That was just
to sell all the action figures. Seriously, it was a merchandising thing, and it worked. Okay.
Well, we could call Niha and turn this around and make everyone think that you're actually engaged to him instead.
No.
Though I think that Trissy would probably have a cow, or she would have a good laugh about it. Lucas, on the other hand, might be a little confused.
I don't know how confused he's gonna be. Last time I met him, he was asking when we were having kids.
Well, do you want to have kids? Because we can do that. Maybe we should do one thing at a time.
That was my thought. I'm not sure. Have you seen me with kids? It's very awkward. Try not to die. Again, I know I say that a lot, but you know, you're putting yourself in more danger than I am these days.
Yeah. How did that happen?
You joined N7. I just retired into a life of research and concerts. It's been good. I like it.
And is this research top secret and classified, or am I allowed to know about this research?
Well, you know how we've been. Do you remember the sort of strange Dungeons and Dragons fantasy plays with magic and weird people like dwarves and elves and all that stuff that we visited? Well, you didn't visit, but I did. And yeah.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
You know how we've brought back some really weird things. That lyrium rock stuff. It's organic, and I don't know exactly what it does. Apparently, it boosts. Well, yeah, but it's like looking at lyrium seems like looking at a red blood cell. It hints that it's part of something big and alive, but we don't know what it is. So we've been cloning it and growing it, and we'll be running some tests today to see what it can do. We're sealed lab, so if anything goes wrong, we should be able to contain it. But yeah, that'll be interesting.
That actually sounds pretty. That actually does sound pretty interesting. I'm actually pretty curious about that.
Well, drop by sometime when we've got a bit more to show for it. I mean, we know it boosts biotics because Rain. Apparently, they use it in potions for magic, and Rain says it did have an effect on her biotics.
Potions, potions and magic. You're very sexy when you talk nerd to me.
Let's just forget what it's called and go with the sexy. I'm good with that.
I'm always fine with the sexy, he says with a grin.
Okay, so they can make out for a bit.
All right. Sink brings his son Lucas to his office, and he meets up with Elias. We'll say that Lucas is off in a side room right now. He's got his he actually by this point has a set of Starship toys that he's playing with in the other room, while you and Elias are working on your experimentations on lyrium and lyrium cloning. Meanwhile, Faith, you have been visited regularly, relatively regular. I wouldn't say every day, but maybe once or twice a week with Rosie, and she'll hang out with you just for a few minutes. I don't think that she would. I think she's smart enough to know that she can't just be with you for extended amount of time.
Yeah, because there's no draw suspicion.
Right. So just a few minutes, she'll hang out with you, and then go off on her merry little way. And you've actually started taking a liking of her and have grown to see a lot of potential from this girl, and maybe even from the other kids as well, who seem to be progressing very well. And while you guys are in the mines together...
I've got a question. Seeing that she spent a bit more time with Rosie, would she have been able to do the whole thought transfer to be able to at least get the language so they can actually talk?
I think that will be reasonable. I think that would be a reasonable thing, yes.
Because all she'd have to do would be the gesture to her to close her eyes.
Yes.
And she could just do the mind meld and wouldn't do anything to her.
Yeah. I think that you would have to be very careful with that, though, because such a thing can be overwhelming for a young child.
Yeah, she would have been careful.
I think
plus thought transfer can work in both directions.
Plus thought transfer. So
true.
I guess my question is, would you be willing to risk that? Because she's powerful, but that can be very that can be very, very overwhelming for a child. Would you be willing to risk that?
Probably not. Sorry, probably not right away.
Okay, so you're going to
probably
do that?
Would have not right. She wouldn't have done it right away. She probably would have been planning on waiting at least.
So by this point.
Probably, yeah.
I'm gonna need you to roll me a biotics roll, please.
Okay.
Make sure
okay, I think we said that my biotics was a 4d6 last time I used it.
Yes. I want to
Rosie
make sure
becomes brain dead.
Yeah, I want to make sure you don't have any lasting effects on Theobin's daughter.
Oh, well, this just got real.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mess with my daughter.
Just a straight biotics.
You left her there.
You're gonna take her with you.
I'm coming after you. I'm coming after you if you mess up.
This is straight biotics roll?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Don't
Yeah,
suck.
Theobin, your daughter is now possessed.
Okay.
17.
Good. That's what you needed.
No critical
All right.
fail either.
So
We're
we
good.
will
We're good.
say
We're good.
say that Rosie you're able to make sure that such a transfer is done in a limited way such that it would not cause
Give
her
her,
to go brain
give
dead.
her anything.
Yes.
Or make her brain dead or
She
anything.
probably will. Now you probably will feel that some memory transfer would have gone both ways, so you wouldn't be able to prevent that. But she actually is very she thinks, because she's a kid, she will think that that's so cool, and she
She will now
understands.
try with all of her friends.
Yeah, she
Oh.
is probably gonna ask you to teach her how to do that. The question is, will you accept
What,
to teach her how to
can
do
you? I don't know if you can because it
I
seems
don't
to
think
be
she, I don't think
only,
she can because I think it's
I thought
only
that was
for
an Asari
Asari.
thing.
only
Even if you
Asari
have
can do it.
biotics.
That
Yeah.
doesn't stop her from asking.
That is true.
Well,
That doesn't stop her from
after
asking.
she gets the language, she'll probably tell her, "I'm sorry, I can't teach you."
Okay.
Not that anyway.
She'll probably
It's only for my species.
she'll probably get a little upset at that.
But you're
'Cause she
still doing
clearly
very well with your training.
roll a communication to make sure that she doesn't get overly upset at that.
21.
Okay. You guys are still friends.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
okay, so you guys, while she's hanging out with you, you start to hear more voices, and these are voices that are other than the children and other than the teacher. And you guys go and investigate, and you will actually witness the exorcism of Halaser and Machbara. And after Halaser, I guess collapses, and Eric and Violet are thrown off their feet,